Hi everyone. Welcome to Learn to Tech Edit Crochet live Q&A. I'm here with Melissa Metzbauer. My name is Sarah Walworth. I'm the owner of the Tech Editor Hub. Melissa, I'm going to mute myself because my dogs are barking. You go ahead.
That's okay. Dogs, kids, don't bother us. Hey, I'm Melissa. You might have seen me once or twice, maybe in the course, because I teach the Learn to Tech Edit Crochet course. And we are here at the end of our, is it 7 or 8 weeks? I can't remember how many weeks we divided it. 7 weeks. We're here at the end of our 7-week course with, I'm here with Sarah and anybody who is here to ask questions about anything tech edited related. So we can go ahead and give it a few minutes if you think that would be best, Sarah, or we can just jump right into questions or.
Sylvia, did you have any questions? If you want to throw it into the chat, you can. If not, I have a couple questions that I got in the Facebook group that maybe we can address here too.
I've got one about how thoroughly you go through the first edit. I've just finished the module 8 and checked the answer key. And I found I'm being a little bit more pedantic than what I'm finding Melissa's copy to be. How thoroughly do you go through when you're doing the first edit?
I definitely go through top to bottom, line by line, but some things I just leave up to the designer's preference because I like for them to keep their voice. Now, there are other things, like I'm going through an edit right now where the wording is quite different because I don't think the speaker is a native English speaker and the pattern is written in English. So I'm being a little bit more particular with those kinds of things. But as far as being really thorough, I try to be as thorough as I can for the first edit. But a lot of times things will slip through and you got to come back for that second edit or sometimes even a third edit and catch everything. I think, Sarah, you mentioned one time that you don't go through an entire edit in one day. You give it 2 days. That way you're looking at the pattern with fresh eyes the next day as well. So that's always a good idea.
I do my passes a little differently. I generally work through them, like I'll do style and wording, and spelling and punctuation all in a separate pass so that it doesn't bother me while I'm dealing with the numbers, if that makes sense. My brain can't do both of those at the same time. Some editors are able to. My brain likes to do all of that style stuff separately, and then come back and get out my spreadsheet, my calculator, my graph paper, and work through the numbers, the stitch counts, the way things, rows or rounds begin, how they end, the number of stitches that are left, whether or not patterning fits in. I do all that separately. Sometimes I do it with a sleep in between. Sometimes I'll do all of that in one session, both passes in one session, and then do a final review on the next day before I send it back. Sylvia, what you're asking though, maybe is how detailed do you go? Are you finding errors maybe that we missed when we were creating the course, or is it that you're finding different things that you're not sure if you should mark?
It's a consistency issue. So it's a lot of things like using wordings for one part of the section says left shoulder panel, and then they change to L shoulder panel. And then in like a third paragraph, they go next shoulder panel, or the spacings in between units and numbers.
Yeah, any inconsistencies should definitely be highlighted and marked. Definitely.
Would you do that for every inconsistency, or would you make a general note, check this through?
So if it's something where I'm going to run out of page for the ink, and I'll make a general note and tell the designer to go through and check everything. Or if it's something that I'm not sure which style they want to go with, then if it's a lot of places where I'd have to mark the pattern, then I will generally go ahead and tell them in an email or some other kind of communication to pick one for consistency and use it throughout. And then I'll go back after they've made that change and see if I can find any places where it's inconsistent with whatever their choice was. But yeah. Now if
Okay, thanks.
it's just a few places, then I definitely mark them up, because if it's clear which style they want, then anything that doesn't match that style would definitely get marked.
I tend to mark the first one and then say, check the pattern throughout. And like, I even have like a copy paste note so that I saves time. Like the first time I hit that speed bump of, oh, they said this differently, I'll mark it. The other thing about left and right side is sometimes that's an error. Can be when, this was a question that I got in the Facebook group, is how do you look at a garment when you're describing left and right? The left and right in a pattern is always as it's worn.
Yes,
And I think you go into this I think you went into this in the course, but
I think I did.
yeah, we have to make sure when they say right side, left side, if it's in the round or if it's with rows, it doesn't matter. It's how it's worn. And sometimes that's one of the biggest, most frequent errors I come across too. So if it's a speed bump and you go, oh, that doesn't make sense, that's not how they said it before, also double check that it's not an error and not just a consistency issue.
Yeah, every once in a while, I will see that where somebody has specified that it's as you're looking at the thing. But generally with garments, yeah, Sarah's 100% correct. It's as you're wearing it. So I hope that answered your question, Sylvia. If not, feel free to unmute and jump in.
No, it did. Thanks. I appreciate the two
Awesome.
different ways you guys are doing it, which is, it's good to know that it's a little bit of leeway there.
Yeah. Sarah, what questions did you get in the Facebook post?
Yeah,
I
I'm
believe it
just
was
pulling it.
Facebook.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up.
Okay.
This was
Facebook hides things from me. That's why I
Yeah.
tell students in the Facebook group to make sure to tag me in things, because I will be told by Facebook, hey, there's an event you've been invited to 3 or 4 days after the event has come and gone.
Yeah, this was actually in the main tech editor group. I thought I would bring these questions over here and see how you would answer them, Melissa.
Uh-oh.
But I love what Sylvia said, how there's leeway. You have to
Yes.
find the way to work through the pattern that works best for your brain. I feel like every editor has their own way of doing things that works best to help them find the most inconsistencies and errors. And so as you do your first few edits, you'll kind of come into a system that works for you, and what works for me won't work for Melissa, and what works for Melissa won't work for me. So don't hesitate to hone in on what helps you edit best.
Exactly.
The question that I got, and these are questions that we get pretty regularly. How can I get started in the business? In other words, how do I find my first client? And then of course, this follow-up question is, how do you find new clients after that?
So starting a business and finding your first client are two different things in my eyes. You're starting a business, you're going to want to look through all of the laws that apply to your area, make sure you've got everything set up according to how you need it to be set up legally for your country. And because I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a lawyer in every country, that's something you're going to have to explore with a business advisor, maybe a lawyer, maybe a tax consultant, those kinds of people. Okay, so once you've got your basic business plan, like I want to edit this type of pattern, I want to work with these types of clients, I want to work these days, these hours, this many projects a month, et cetera, and you've got your technology picked out and you've got an idea of your process, that's when you're going to want to go and start looking at all of the legal ends of things. as far as, do I need a tax ID? Do I need to set up a business? How do I want to set up the money side of things? What type of payments am I going to take? General advice, take with a grain of salt, is I find that keeping your business money and your personal money separate is a huge bonus, especially when it comes to tax season. You're going to want to maybe look for a tax accountant if you're not comfortable doing that stuff yourself. And then once you've got all your basic foundation set up, then you need to start making a space for yourself online, generally online. You can also do this through local business, like local yarn shops, word of mouth. But I find that the easiest way to get started with your business is set up your space online. How is your person, that's your ideal client, going to find you? We talk about this in the course. You make your map of, here's my client and here's me. How are they going to get from here to here to even know that I exist? There's all these little steps that they could take, and there might be multiple different paths that they can get to you from. But you're going to want to look at how that person is going to eventually get to your space where they can contact you, however that looks for you. And that's going to be different for every business. And then just start being helpful, start speaking up, start letting people know that you have this business is a great first step. A lot of advice I hear from starting business coaches is blog, video log, YouTube, however that message needs to get out that, hey, I'm this person, that I know this thing and I can help you in this way. And here's a little taste of the knowledge that I have that I'm going to give you so that you know that I know what I'm talking about. You start doing that. When I first got started, I actually was in the knitting side of things. And I did a bunch of edits in exchange for testimonials because I needed something to put on my website and I needed practice. So I did all that for free. And I think I did about 6 of them. And I made sure that I did free edits for every category that I was comfortable editing. So I had a whole range. I think I did socks, shawls, a garment, hats, maybe a cowl or something like that, maybe something for the home. And I had about 6 of them that I did. I think it's been a while, but I think I did about 6 of them, and 5 of those designers came back and gave me a review that I could use on my website. The last one ghosted me, but I had enough to go ahead and get started. And I just started every couple of days, social media. Hey, I've got this service. If you're interested, go ahead and contact me. And here's my website. I had a website. I decided to put together a website as my landing page and put the website out there. And it wasn't very long until I had people contacting me for editing, for knitting. But then I kept hearing calls for crochet editors and nobody would reply. So that's how I ended up doing both. But if you're starting out as a crochet editor, keep an eye out for those kinds of requests online and keep making your presence known, because it might take a little while before somebody hears your message and then also has a pattern for you to edit. Because they might hear your message and say, oh, hey, that person's an editor. Let me just tuck this away. I'll just follow them on whatever, and I'll tuck it away for when I have a pattern ready, then I'll reach out. Sarah's made it super easy on the Tech Editor Hub. Once you graduate, you can add your name to the database. And then I believe how it works, Sarah, is, you correct me if I'm wrong, but Sarah gets an inquiry from a designer saying, hey, I need a crochet editor for a shawl in this type of design. And then Sarah takes that information, and I assume you have some sort of funneling filter system, and it goes out to everybody that it needs to go to that has signed up.
It's like a blast. It's an email blast.
Yeah.
Once you register with me that you are available to take on work. And then you, then if you feel like you want to take on that job, you can send I have details when you sign up for this list on how to send in a proposal. And then begin that interaction with the designer.
So we didn't have that when I first started out, and I would watch the Tech Editor Hub. Now I'm not on Facebook a whole lot. And like I said, Facebook hides things from me, but every once in a while I'd see a posting, hey, I need an editor for X or Y. And I would jump on there and say, hey, here's my website. I'm taking on clients. If you're interested, just let me know. And then once you get a few really good clients, then it's how do I get more clients? Once you have established yourself as a really good editor, then those designers will most likely go and tell their designer friends. And then you'll have more people coming to you saying, hey, I need an edit. And my friend is a client of yours, and my friend said you were great. Or you'll make connections within the editing world. Like if I have a pattern that I can't handle, then I have a couple editor friends here in the Tech Editor Hub sphere that I say, hey, who has time for this? And you're going to need to know this, this, and this, and this if you're interested in taking on this job. And usually one of them will pick it up. And sometimes I just can't keep clients because I don't have the availability to provide them the level of service that they need. And other editors will. I think I've said maybe before, maybe in the course, that I do this part-time because my full-time job is my family for now. Once they've spread their little wings and they've flown the nest, then I can do this more of a full-time thing. But anyhow, any other ideas on how to add to your client base, Sarah?
Yeah, so I started by being a tester for patterns. It gave me a great insight on a firsthand basis on this process of publication, because up till this point, before I began editing knitting patterns, I didn't have really any idea of the process, the design process. So working with a designer as a tester gave me some insight into that, but I didn't continue with that because testing takes a lot of work.
It's very
And
time consuming.
it's time consuming, and I really wanted to get editing. So I offered my services on Ravelry forums. There are 3 groups on Ravelry that have a place where you can post. If you are someone who can access Ravelry, that's a fantastic place to go. Yarn Pond is one. If you are in the UK, you can contact the owner for access to Yarn Pond, because I think there's a tricky bit with the way that the tax works there. And then there also is a couple other forum-based things within, I can't remember the name of it. I think I put it in, I can't remember what it's called. Well, it's Yarn something that allows you to put in your information into their data. Oh, I think it's Yarn Database.
Is that the one where they specifically cater to off Ravelry
Yes,
designers?
exactly.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
there's also forums on Facebook
there's
too.
forums on
Groups on
Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah,
These are all really good places when you're starting out to go be a helpful person
exactly.
to,
And that's the key, is when you're first beginning, you need to show publicly that you know what you're doing, in a sense, or that you're very like you are good at crochet. This is why you're an editor. So you have to go into the places where people are talking and asking questions and be helpful. And to me, that is the primary way of getting in contact. I have had designers, I'll post something helpful on Instagram and I'll have designers come into my DMs and say, do you do tech editing? Even though it's all over my profile. So this is crucial. What Melissa said was gold. Be helpful.
Yeah. Check your rules on your Facebook or any group first, though, before you jump in and start advertising your services.
The other thing I would say
there-
about getting new clients is what Melissa said about getting a testimonial and getting feedback. Any project that you do, get feedback, work with that designer to get information from them on how you can improve what you did well, what worked, what didn't work, and to ask for a referral from them. For probably the first year, I offered a discount to all my clients who referred me,
Nice.
just so that I could build up my client base.
And then what happened to your client base, Sarah?
It got too big.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of
I
these
had-
things.
I
a
had
lot of
more
these-
work than I could do.
Yeah. 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 When I first started out, I thought I would never get my first client. It just was never going to happen. I just needed to go get a job at the local grocery store and be done with it. And now, a couple years later, 2-3 years later, I've got more clients than I can handle. And I never advertise because I can't advertise because then I'll have to be turning people away. But yes, keep at it, stick with it, keep doing the things that you know you need to do, and it will work.
I would add to that it's okay if you need to do other work while you're building up this business.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a
Absolutely.
lot of us that edit part-time until the amount of work that we're getting is able to replace what we do in other areas. So maybe do work at the bank or the grocery store or wherever you were working before. Don't quit that job. And at the same time, build up this business. If it is something, don't feel like you have to quit everything to be a tech editor if that isn't how your lifestyle is going to be maintained. So work with what works best for you. Don't feel obligated to do it the way that we did it.
Yeah, I love how this is a career that you can customize exactly how you like. And if you only want to do this part-time, only do it part-time. You want to do this full-time, you want to do this full-time and part-time, work 80 hours a week. Go for it.
And I will say the more work you take on, the better you're going to get. So get yourself through those first few jobs, go slow so that you can really get your head into how the process of this works, from receiving an inquiry to invoicing and everything in between. Set up your systems so that as you get more work, you won't feel overwhelmed and you'll feel confident in your business.
Exactly.
So along the same line, Melissa, the next question we got was, how do you charge? Do you charge per hour or per project? I don't remember in your coursework if you went into detail on this, so maybe we can discuss this a little bit.
So I think that's another business decision, that every business is different. And I've seen editors that charge per project. I've seen them charge per hour. I charge per hour. And I've also seen them sell chunks of time that can be used however the designer sees fit. So like if you were my client, Sarah, you would buy 10 hours from me, and then I would use that 10 hours for whatever projects you sent my way until the hours were used up, and then we'd have to purchase more time. So I've seen all three of those. I personally like to charge per hour because it's easy for me to keep track of my time and then just grab the number from my spreadsheet. And I think I showed you all this in the spreadsheet tips and tricks, how you can just keep track of all your time on one side. All I have to do is grab that number and toss it into a invoice, and I'm done. So that makes, and it's easy. I don't even have to look at a clock anymore. I just hit buttons on my keyboard and boom, it's done. Now, that said, I have worked for clients before that pay a flat rate for projects. And if you're a very fast, very thorough editor, that's great. If you're a very slow editor, then you could end up working for less per hour than you would if you had charged per hour. But usually the people that pay flat rates are third-party publishers, and they set their rates, and you can kind of take it or leave it. You can accept the job or decline it. But Yeah, and then some of the jobs that they have, they'll give a flat rate for hats. Every hat, they'll give you $50 to edit the pattern. So if the hat is a simple hat in single crochet and one size, then man, that's an easy job. If it's 12 sizes and it's got 16 different stitch patterns and it's got, ear flaps and ties and special ears on the top, or, whatever, then you're going to be doing a whole lot more work for that flat fee. So it really just honestly depends on how you want to set up your business and what you choose to do and who you choose to work with. Because like I said, most of those third-party publishers, they just pay, they set the terms. We will pay you this if you edit this type of pattern. But for independent designers, I generally go with a hourly rate, and I need to up my hourly rate because I haven't changed it since I first started. But you can also think about if you get a client that wants you to do a rush job. That client wants you to drop everything and have that pattern back in 2 days, and you're going to be working nights and weekends. Think about charging a little bit more for rush jobs. So I think that answers the question.
Yeah, that's great. I would
Yeah.
say that when I was starting, I thought about this differently than how I think about it now with hundreds of patterns experience. When you're beginning, you're going to do this like you would for any other business decision. How much do you need to make? What's
Mhm.
your goal? What is your living wage where you live? And what's your overhead? Like, what are the business expenses that you have to cover? Because this is a business. This is not a hobby, and you need to make a profit. You got to be able to pay yourself. So pricing as far as how much per hour or per job may be somewhat individual based on where you live and how much you need to make, what your costs are, and also what your experience level is.
Mhm.
The advice that I've heard from other people is when you're first getting started, you may be slow.
Mhm.
And so if you charge per hour, you may want to charge a lower per hour rate. And then as your speed increases and your experience within the patterns gets better, then you can increase your rate. Like Melissa right now is fast, let me tell you. And so she can increase her rate to be able to make a proportional amount
Mhm.
according to her experience and her skill level. So the way I got around this was I figured out really what I wanted to bring in every month, kind of a goal. There's a website that allows you to figure out what your living wage is in your area. And then I added on my overhead, like what I need to pay for my website and for, Dropbox or whatever other software I'm using to edit. And then I broke down, okay, how much do I need to make per job? Okay, what is it going to be if I get in a hat pattern that's simple? And I made myself a little table about, how long things are going to take if I was a really accomplished editor, which I'm not yet. And so I charged a flat rate when I was first starting and getting my feet under me and getting my speed up. And as my speed got better, then I started keeping time and charging the client according to my hourly rate. And then, yeah, as time went on and I got faster and I got several hundred patterns underneath my belt, then I continued to raise my rates at least once a year. And as far as raising your rates, your clients won't care. They just want you. If you are valuable to them, I've heard my clients say, I don't care what you charge, I will pay you whatever it costs. You are super, super valuable. And I think that's something that has to change in our industry is to value ourselves and the work that we do. Don't do free work.
No.
If you are going to not charge a client, make sure that there's some kind of barter and process there, whether it be for a testimonial, for for detailed feedback, for something to get you started, but don't continue to work for free or work for less than your living wage, which in some places, some people we're only charging like $10 and $10 an hour for technical editing work, which really is way too low, even if
I
you're
don't,
very slow.
I think minimum wage is higher than that in most
In most
places.
places, yes.
Yeah.
So make sure that you think carefully and analyze this and value yourself. And if you need feedback from us, we are here for you. We
Yep.
can help you.
Absolutely. One other thing that I think I did when I first started editing was if there was something new that I didn't quite have my head wrapped around yet, like a complex stitch pattern or like Tunisian crochet, that was new to me. But I kind of grasped the basics when I first started working in one of those patterns. I think I charged half time because I would have to stop and I would pick up a hook and like make the thing while I was editing the pattern. So I thought that was more fair to the designer that I would just charge half, because it took me twice as long for Tunisian crochet, the first pattern I edited. So yeah.
I
So
love though that you still charged. That you didn't do
yes.
it for free. So
No, the only advice I would have, because lesson learned was when I was doing testimonials in exchange for edits, I wish I had had some sort of agreement in place that I will charge you X or you can give me a testimonial. Because if I had done that, the one that had ghosted me, I'd have just sent them a bill.
yes, I
You don't
agree.
want to be bothered to write 3 sentences. I'll just send you a bill then.
Yeah,
But
I agree. That is fantastic advice. And don't be afraid to use something like Google Forms or one of the other things if they don't want to fill out send you an email. Like you can make the questions ahead of time for them to get the replies that you need for
kind of
feedback.
like a survey type thing.
Yeah, like a survey.
Okay. That's a good idea.
I love that idea of having that part of the agreement so that you actually do. So it is actually working in exchange, not where someone is getting a tech edit for free, quote unquote.
Yeah, another piece that we can tie back to our original question of how do you get that first client is I see a need in the crochet industry for tech editors to be valued, period. A lot of crocheters, designers, people in the crochet craft, it's about 50-50. 50% think that a tech editor is needed. The other 50% say, oh, I've got people that are testing it, so it's fine. Or we don't really need a tech editor because it's not a big deal and I don't want to spend the money, or whatever the excuse is. It's about a 50-50. So if we can spread the message that tech editors provide excellent value and will help a business thrive and grow, then that's another way to be helpful to the crochet community in sharing this is the service that a tech editor provides, and this is what will happen if you hire one. This is what will happen to your patterns, to your business, to your reputation, et cetera, to your personal life. Even before I even knew what tech editors were, I thought, okay, I just got to reread it and reread it and reread it. And of course you miss like half the errors when you try to edit it yourself. Do not recommend. Then I realized what tech editors were, hired one, and life is so much easier as a designer. I write my pattern, I check it, I send it to my editor. My editor comes back with an edited pattern with fresh set of eyes and says, here's all your errors, here's my suggestions. And it takes that worry and stress off of me. And I think if we can communicate that to the crochet community, hey, you want to have an easier time of designing things, you want to not worry about errors,
It's even
hire a
goes
tech editor.
beyond that. Like you've got someone who's got your back. So I had clients that I had for years who, hey, I'm struggling in this design. Can you give me some idea on how I can handle this problem? Or how do I write this? Or I'm stuck here. You can tap into someone who's seen all kinds of patterns and has seen the way other people are doing it and get advice. I ended up, this relationship that you are building with your clients is super valuable to them, not just for having correct patterns. And I think that is also
Oh,
how
yes.
to be conveyed, is that it's a collaboration to even some of my clients said they're better designers because they worked with me, not because I fixed their patterns, but because there's this back and forth and a second
Mhm.
set of eyes and more ideas. And when you get two detailed brains together on one project, you end up it becomes exponentially better, not just fixing mistakes.
Absolutely.
That
So
was that was all the questions on Facebook that I got this week.
Okay.
So Sylvia, did we ring any more bells for you? Do you have any further questions for us? If not, we can wrap up.
No, I think that's all good. Thanks.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm glad we were able to answer all these questions. We had a lot more questions in the course itself this time around.
Mhm.
So I was excited to see that, excited to help answer all of these questions and get people started down their career of being a tech editor. It's exciting to watch students' businesses grow. I think that's one of the most fun parts of being the teacher is after they finish the course and you start seeing their names pop up where they're making comments or posts or whatever have you, social media posts, and then watching their business flourish. And then best part about it is when they come back to the group and say, hey, I have too many clients. I'm overbooked. Does someone have availability? That's awesome.
It's a beautiful thing.
I love it.
So know that by purchasing this course and working together with Melissa through this and with each other, you are part of a community.
Mhm.
Don't feel like you have to continue in any way that you are struggling by yourself. We are here for you, and you can at any time send a question in the course again,
Mhm.
and we will help you. Or if you have any exciting news, we'd love to celebrate with you.
Yeah.
And do keep an eye out for in the newsletter for the Tech Editor Hub. I'll be opening the Tech Editor Hub community again soon. And that is a great place to land as you're building your business, to connect with other editors and also to get more detailed information on how to build your business. So,
And those are two different things, the Facebook and the Tech Editor, two different things. Yeah, the algorithms don't hide things from me in the Tech Editor community. So it's super easy to look and find what you need. And if you can't find what you need, to toss a post in whatever forum is appropriate and ask for help.
Thank you for this time, Melissa.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm glad that we could chat with our students and we got some great questions, and we'll be doing this again at the end of the next cohort of students.
Yes.
Appreciate
Awesome.
your time, guys. Thank you.
Oh,
Thanks,
we're so
Sylvia.
glad you could be here, Sylvia.
Currently, I'm feeding the baby in her high chair while listening, so sorry. Been a bit off and on.
Hey, it's all good.
We love it. We love it.
All good. This is what we're here for, is to help people exactly like you grow the career that they want and that works for them and their situation, their home situation.
We both started editing with little kids at home.
Oh, yes.
So I think mine were like 15 and under when I started
Oh, my.
homeschool. I don't know how young yours were, but we both juggled building a tech editing business while being a caregiver and a mother.
Mhm.
So it's very wonderful and viable way to work.
Yeah. Mine were toddlers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were toddlers, so it was 1, maybe 2 jobs a week, which was fine because it
Mhm.
gave me something to do other than change diapers and
Playground.
yeah, playground and feed, and then put them in the shower and get all the food out of their hair because they like to do this, you know?
Yes.
That makes me feel
Oh.
better. Thanks, Melissa. That's good. That's my
Yeah,
situation.
now they're much older and they're like, "Mom, you're cringe." I'm like, "Seriously?" But rabbit trail, no, this is exactly why we're here, is to help people exactly like you build a business that works for them.
And I think when you're caregiving, you're focused a lot on finding out, taking care of the littles and making them happy and caring for them as they grow into big people. And when you begin to take on editing jobs, it's such a relief to get your head into something that you love that's not focused outside of you, where it was wonderful to get my brain moving again
Mhm.
and talking to people who were not 5.
Yes. Yes.
And
Exactly.
it became such a release for me. Not that I needed a relief from my life, but it just was such a beautiful aspect of being both a mom and an editor at the same time. So I encourage you all, if you are in this position, this is why we are here. We've been there and it works.
It does. Absolutely. Well, if we don't have any more questions, we can go ahead and wrap up. And I appreciate all of your time and gathering the questions and hosting, Sarah.
Thank you for being here. This is
Thanks for being
wonderful.
here.
I
Thanks
love
for being here,
chatting it. Never gets to old talking about this. Thank you.
Nope. All right. You all have a great week. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.